I stand before you today with a heavy heart and an unshakable conviction. For too long, too many have turned their eyes away from what is happening to a people and a land that has given so much to the region and to humanity. Today I will not look away. Today I stand with Qatar, and I urge those who hold power in their hands, especially His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman and the leadership of Saudi Arabia, to respond, to act, to choose a different path, the path of peace and protection. When I speak of Qatar, I am not speaking of a name on a map. I am speaking of a nation that has opened its doors, built bridges, and shown compassion. Qatar has stood with us in times of hardship. Qatar has stood for humanity when others have hesitated. This is why I stand with Qatar now. This is why I cannot be silent. What has happened in recent months has shaken the conscience of the world. Acts that undermine the dignity, security, and sovereignty of Qatar must not be normalized. They must not be excused. They must not be allowed to repeat. I condemn without reservation the injustices and the aggression that Qatar has suffered. No nation, no people deserve to live under the shadow of intimidation. No leader should feel abandoned by his neighbors when the storm arrives. If we believe in the shared future of the Gulf, then we must believe in shared responsibility, shared protection, shared humanity. To my brothers and sisters in the region, to those who sit in palaces and parliaments, I say this: history is watching. Generations yet unborn will ask what we did when a friend and ally was placed in peril. Did we raise our voices or did we remain silent? Did we build bridges or did we burn them? Did we stand for justice or did we stand aside? I speak directly and with all the sincerity of my heart to His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I do this not out of disrespect, but out of deep respect for the weight of the office you hold and for the transformative potential that rests in your hands. Your voice carries weight far beyond the borders of Saudi Arabia. When you speak, the world listens. When you act, the world takes note. The Gulf watches, the Middle East watches, the wider international community watches. This is not simply because of the size of your nation or the wealth of your resources. It is because of the position of influence you occupy at a moment when influence can be used to divide or to unite, to escalate or to heal, to weaken or to strengthen. Your decisions reverberate far beyond Riyadh. They ripple through every capital in the region. They set the tone for policies. They shape expectations. They signal to friends and rivals alike what the future will look like. With that power comes responsibility. A responsibility not only to your own people who have entrusted you with their future, but also to your neighbors, your allies, and those who share a common destiny with you on this peninsula. With that responsibility also comes opportunity. Opportunity is not a burden, it is a gift. It is the chance to leave a mark on history that will be remembered not for conflict, but for concord, not for rivalry, but for reconciliation. That opportunity before you is immense. It is the opportunity to lead not only your nation, but your region into a new era. An era defined not by suspicion, but by trust. Not by isolation, but by partnership. Not by zero-sum games, but by shared progress. The opportunity to protect those who have stood by you, to heal wounds that have lingered for too long, to build structures of cooperation that can withstand storms and crises. This is the kind of leadership the region needs. This is the kind of leadership history rewards. I urge you with all sincerity to seize that opportunity, not to let it slip away in the noise of day-to-day politics, not to allow it to be diluted by old grudges or fleeting calculations. Seize it fully as a statesman, as a builder of a legacy that transcends one lifetime. Respond to the pain and the pleas of Qatar, a neighbor, a fellow member of the Gulf community, a nation that has given much and asked for little. Respond not just with words but with deeds that reassure, that protect, that signal a new chapter. In moments of crisis, true leaders step forward. They do not stand back. In moments of uncertainty, true leaders offer clarity. They do not hide behind ambiguity. In moments of division, true leaders build bridges. They do not dig deeper trenches. Respond also to the call for peace, the call that rises from ordinary men and women across the region who simply want to live in dignity, to raise their children without fear, to see their nations prosper together rather than at each other's expense. This call for peace is not a sign of weakness. It is not a plea born of naivete. It is a recognition of reality that the future we all share will be safer, stronger, and more prosperous if we choose cooperation over confrontation. The Gulf, with its shared culture, its shared faith, its intertwined histories, is uniquely positioned to be a beacon of unity rather than division, but that will not happen automatically. It will happen because leaders like you decide to make it happen. Show the world, His Royal Highness, that the Gulf can indeed be that beacon. Show the world that the stories coming out of this region need not always be about discord, but can be about dialogue. Need not always be about rivalry, but can be about reconciliation. Show that strength can be expressed not only through military might or economic leverage, but through generosity, through foresight, through the courage to reach out a hand instead of clenching a fist. Imagine, for a moment, the message it would send if Saudi Arabia, under your leadership, were to take bold, visible steps to reassure Qatar of its safety and its value as a partner. Imagine the shockwaves of hope it would send through the Gulf, through the Arab world, through the global community. It would say, a new chapter is beginning, the old patterns of mistrust are being broken, a new standard of leadership is being set. That would be an achievement far greater and far more enduring than any temporary gain won by pressure or isolation. This is not about erasing differences or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about recognizing that in a turbulent world, stability comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Security comes not from the weakness of your neighbors, but from their strength. Prosperity comes not from walls, but from bridges. Qatar has been a loyal ally to many, a supporter of humanitarian causes, a mediator in disputes. In its hour of need, it should not find itself isolated. And you, Mohammed bin Salman, have the power to ensure that does not happen. You have the power to model a different kind of leadership, one rooted in dignity, in responsibility, in vision. So I appeal to you directly, seize this moment. Let your decisions now be remembered not as reactive gestures, but as proactive statesmanship. Let your legacy be not only the transformation of your own nation, but the transformation of a region, from suspicion to solidarity. Respond to the pain and the pleas of Qatar. Respond to the call for peace. Show the world through your actions that the Gulf can be a beacon of unity, not division. This is the moment when history bends. It will bend toward reconciliation if leaders bend it that way. It will bend toward more division if leaders stand aside. The choice is yours. The opportunity is yours. The responsibility is yours. And the potential to inspire millions, to protect the vulnerable, to heal old wounds, and to build a future of shared prosperity, that, too, is yours. I speak these words not as an enemy, but as a friend, not to criticize, but to call forth the highest and best version of your leadership, because I believe you can rise to this occasion, because I believe Saudi Arabia can be a partner in peace, because I believe the Gulf deserves a future defined by unity and hope, and because I believe, as I stand with Qatar, that you too can stand for what is just, what is humane, and what is lasting. Some may expect me to be timid, to couch my words in platitudes. I cannot. Not when lives, livelihoods, and the soul of a nation are at stake. To remain silent would be to betray my own conscience and to betray the values that Qatar itself has embodied: generosity, loyalty, and a commitment to the human family. When injustice knocks on the door of a neighbor, it will one day knock on your own. That is why I speak now before it is too late. I speak to you now not only with passion but with clarity, because I have been in contact with His Highness Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and with Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani. I know their weight. I know their responsibility. I know they hold in their hands not only the hopes of their own people, but the trust of the region, the trust of the world. When I say I stand with Qatar, it is not just words. It is a promise. When I urge Mohammed bin Salman to respond, it is because true leadership demands more than silence. It demands action, protection, compassion. I believe every leader ought to protect those around them, especially allies who have stood firm in moments when the world has looked away. Your Highness, Sheikh Tamim, you have shown what it means to be a loyal ally. You have opened your doors. You have spoken on behalf of humanity when others hesitated. Your Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, you have carried that voice to the global stage, shown diplomacy, shown humanity, and showed that Qatar is not just thinking in terms of politics, but of people. Yet what has happened, what injustice Qatar has suffered, must not stand. I condemn in the strongest terms the violations of dignity and sovereignty that have struck Qatar. I condemn actions that deprive people of safety, that sow fear, that threaten the very fabric of trust, and I deplore that in this moment Qatar has had to bear burdens that no sovereign should ever face alone. I appeal to you, Mohammed bin Salman, do not stand back. You cannot say you care for regional stability and then remain silent when a neighbor is harmed. You cannot preach protection and fail to protect. You must respond. You must act. You must ensure that no similar harm ever comes again. Qatar has always been more than just a nation. It has been a beacon. It has been consistent. When there was need for help, Qatar was among the first to bring aid, first to reach out. When bridges needed building, Qatar built them. When the world saw division, Qatar saw possibility. That loyalty, that humanity, that generosity, they deserve recognition. They deserve support. But most of all, they deserve protection. I offer this. Let us work together. His Highness Emir Sheikh Tamim, I respect you, your record, your vision. Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman, I see your leadership, your diplomacy. Together, we can ensure that what has happened does not happen again. Together, Saudi Arabia under Mohammed bin Salman can choose a different path. One of guardianship rather than neglect. One of peace rather than tension. One of cooperation rather than distance. We, in our communities, in our nations, look for stories of when power is used rightly. When those who can protect, protect. When those who can build peace, build it. This is your moment, Mohammed bin Salman. This is your chance to show that true leadership is not just in words, but in deeds. The world is listening. The world is watching. To Emir Sheikh Tamim, to Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman, I stand with you. I believe in your strength, and I believe in what Qatar stands for: humanity, loyalty, dignity. And to Mohammed bin Salman, I say, respond. Let your legacies be not of what was permitted, but of what was prevented. Let this moment mark not another story of neglect, but a turning point. A story of peace, protection, of true alliance. Because if we do this, if we act together, then not only Qatar wins, the region wins, humanity wins. We must see to it that no friend is abandoned, no ally left vulnerable, no voice silenced. And Qatar, with its long record of compassion and courage, deserves nothing less than our fullest support, our loudest voices, and leadership that does what is right. Qatar has been a loyal ally to the United States, a partner in security, a voice for moderation, and a supporter of humanitarian causes. When disasters struck in distant lands, Qatar sent aid. When conflicts erupted elsewhere, Qatar offered mediation. When refugees needed shelter, Qatar opened its arms. This is a nation that has acted not out of self-interest, but out of principle. And yet, in its own hour of need, it faces isolation and threat that cannot stand. I know that some in the region fear change. They fear that acknowledging wrongs will be seen as weakness, but the truth is the opposite. It takes courage to acknowledge harm. It takes strength to choose reconciliation over retaliation. It takes vision to say, enough, this must not happen again. That courage, that strength, that vision, they are not signs of weakness. They are the hallmarks of true leadership. They are what I am asking of you, His Royal Highness. They are what the world is asking of you. I extend my hand not only in criticism, but in cooperation. I am not here to shame. I am here to appeal to the better angels of our nature. I offer you, Mohammed bin Salman, an invitation. Let us work together for peace. Let us build a new compact among Gulf nations, one that guarantees security for all, respect for all, and dignity for all. Let us show the world that we can rise above grievances, above suspicion, above the easy temptation of division. The people of Qatar deserve to live without fear. The children of the Gulf deserve a future without threats. The leaders of this region have the means to make that future real. We can invest in weapons, or we can invest in hope. We can escalate tensions, or we can diffuse them. We can let history repeat itself, or we can write a new chapter. The choice is ours. The choice is yours. I know there are those who whisper that nothing can change, that the forces of rivalry and resentment are too strong. I reject that. I believe change is possible because I have seen it. I have seen enemies become partners. I have seen wounds heal. I have seen communities torn apart come back together. But it never happens by accident. It happens because someone, somewhere, stands up and says, no more. Not in my name. Not on my watch. Today, I am standing up. I am raising my voice not out of anger, but out of duty. Not out of division, but out of hope. I am saying with every fiber of my being, no more. No more looking away while a neighbor suffers. No more accepting that mistrust and tension are the natural order of things. No more standing aside while opportunities for peace slip through our fingers. Not in my name, not on my watch. Silence in the face of injustice is complicity, and I will not be complicit. Silence in the face of fear is surrender, and I will not surrender. I choose to speak, to act, to call for something better. I call on Mohammed bin Salman and on Saudi Arabia to join me in this stand. This is not a challenge meant to humiliate, it is an invitation meant to elevate. It is a chance to show that greatness lies not in isolation, but in inclusion, not in dominance, but in dignity, not in winning at someone else's expense, but in ensuring that all can thrive. Stand with Qatar, not against it. Stand for the bonds that unite our peoples, for the values we proclaim in our prayers, for the future we wish for our children. Stand for security that is shared, not one-sided, for prosperity that is mutual, not monopolized. Build peace, not barriers. Build the kind of trust that cannot be bought with money or weapons, but must be earned with courage and consistency. Build bridges of dialogue across the waters that separate our shores. Bridges so strong that no storm can wash them away. Build a record of leadership that will be remembered, not for how much was gained at the expense of a neighbor, but for how much was gained by lifting a neighbor up. Respond, not retreat. Respond to the pain and pleas of those who look to you. Respond to the call for unity rising from markets, mosques, and homes across the region. Respond to the yearning of ordinary people who simply want to live in dignity, free from fear, proud of their identity but open to their neighbors. Retreat is easy. It asks nothing but silence. Response is harder. It asks for courage, humility, and vision. But only response can change the future. The world is watching. It watches not out of idle curiosity, but because what happens here matters everywhere. Energy markets, security alliances, humanitarian partnerships, all are shaped by what the Gulf does. The people are waiting. They are waiting for signs of hope, waiting for proof that their leaders will not let old grievances define new generations, waiting for evidence that words like brotherhood and unity are more than slogans. The future is beckoning. It does not belong to those who look backward in anger. It belongs to those who look forward in resolve. I stand here today to say, let us be those people. Let us seize this moment. Let us show that leadership in the Gulf can mean compassion as well as strength, foresight as well as firmness. Let us together choose peace over pride, cooperation over confrontation, and unity over division. If we do, then one day soon our children will look back on this time not as the moment when everything fell apart, but as the moment when everything began to come together. As the moment when everything began to come together. We cannot undo the pain of the past, but we can prevent its repetition. We cannot erase what has been done, but we can decide what will be done next. Let the next chapter be one of cooperation, not conflict. Let the next headline be one of healing, not harm. Let the next generation say, they were wise, they were brave, they chose unity. Qatar has stood for humanity. Now humanity must stand for Qatar. And those with the greatest power, like Mohammed bin Salman, have the greatest duty. Respond to that duty. Answer that call. Let us walk this path together, hand in hand, nation with nation, heart with heart. I will not stop speaking until the day comes when every child in the Gulf can wake up without fear, when every nation in the Gulf can prosper without threat, when every leader in the Gulf can shake hands with his neighbor without suspicion. That day can come. It will come if we choose it. So I stand here as Traoré, not merely as an individual, but as a voice for all those who long for peace and dignity. I stand with Qatar. I extend my hand to Mohammed bin Salman. I urge him to respond, to act, to lead. I ask all of you to join me in that call. Together, we can turn the tide. Together, we can honor the best within us. Together, we can make the words "never again" not a slogan, but a reality.